All right. Welcome back to the Reentry Room. This is the podcast all about working motherhood, where we get honest and real and talk about hard truths of motherhood, being a working mom, having a baby, postpartum, everything in between, and all of the above. And I'm your host, Alexis Starks. You know me. I'm the founder of Executive Moms. I'm a maternity leave coach. And today I have someone really fabulous with me. Her name is Nikki Steele Osborne. Welcome to the show, Nikki.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's lovely to be here.
Yeah, I first of all love recording at a time during the day. So you are not in the US. You are in
Belgium. Yeah.
Although your accent would suggest otherwise.
Yeah. And that's why I'm also known as the Scottish Soul Sister.
Yes.
And that was really intentional because I thought I need to put that identity in there because it'll split the crowd, right? People will either go, I can't work with her because I won't have a clue what she's saying. Like, my father-in-law included still goes, what did she say? Or it would attract because they'd be like, okay, yeah, Scottish is okay. So it was very intentional having the Scottish Soul Sister.
I love it. I love a good accent. I mean, I feel like I've got down my Australian accent because we've watched so many Bluey episodes that I can just like whip it out of a hat like party trick. And
Good girl.
really
I love Bluey. Like, my husband and I used to sit and watch it even when our kid wasn't there because we were just
That's
love
hilarious.
It.
It's got
It's
so
like-
many cute parenting moments that I'm just
I
like, oh, that was
know.
good parenting. That was a good one.
And there's some really like teary moments. Have you seen the episodes where Chile, when I think she's just had Bluey and she's really struggling, and then one of the other mums comes along and tells her that she's doing all right. I was beside myself. I was like, this is just insane. But I think they've done it. There's a movie coming out.
I heard that. Yeah. That's exciting. I'll have to find where to watch it. I hope it's like a Netflix thing, you know? I'm not going.
Yeah, not just the cinema.
Well, anyways, I'm so excited you're here, and you also support moms and parents and are a maternal mental health advocate, therapist, supporter. So please tell us a little bit about what you do and where you are in your motherhood journey as well.
Okay, so being a mum was the catalyst for all of it, right? So my son Archie is now 8, which is insane. But when he was born in 2017, postpartum depression and anxiety completely hijacked me and kicked my arse for about 18 months. I was previously a hairdresser, so the pivot from hairdresser to coach wasn't huge because I was already kind of doing that. But I did feel that once I got a bit of support myself when he was like 18 months old, I got to a point where I thought, well, what was all that about? And I was angry because I felt like time had been taken from me. Time with my son that, I felt I should have been happy. And I was just disconnected and sad and lost.
Now, did you see a therapist, or did it just kind of fade away on its own?
No, eventually I got support. And I think that's the thing. We've got that narrative, don't we? Just reach out. If someone's struggling, we say it all the time, just reach out, give me a phone. And we don't. And I think particularly in that space, when you've become a new parent, it's such a vulnerable space, right? And it's got so many layers as to why we don't necessarily just reach out. I didn't want to say it out loud because it would make it real. I didn't want people to judge. I didn't want anyone to think I was a shit mum. I was already telling myself that. I didn't need someone else telling me that. I didn't want to burden or worry my family. We were living at that time in Montenegro. So my family were in Scotland. So I would jump on a call with mum and be like, oh yeah, I'm tired, but I'm okay. And I wasn't okay, So when I got that support, I was like, I need to do something with this. And I don't know, I got that fire in my belly and it's just went nuts. So it started off studying and training to be a coach. And I thought, I'll drink coffee with people and I'll be a listening ear.
Yeah.
And then I thought, well, what if people are not ready to talk? Like, we've just established that we don't just reach out. So then I created a digital resource called Stepping into Parenthood, which is completely self-paced. It gives you that discretion if you're not ready to talk to someone. You know, it's not high-end ticket. It's under $100, and that's my promise, is to keep it under $100 because I wanted something that was accessible regardless of your budget, right? Yeah. I didn't want it to only be for the affluent. Then it went on to speaking. Then it was, you know, sharing a message, like doing things like this, having podcasts and speaking at events. So it really has grown, and it really is my identity. I asked you before we started, am I allowed to swear? And I think it's because I don't differentiate between professional and personal, because I find this extremely fucking personal. You know?
It is.
It really is. So I don't pretend to be someone I'm not on LinkedIn or on socials. What you see is what you get, right?
I love
and then
this.
More recently, I've launched my book.
Ooh. Okay, wait. Tell us more about the book real quick.
So I just launched in September. It's on Amazon, and it's called Homebird. And it documents my travels, living in different countries, my businesses, and my journey to becoming a mom, and the postpartum, and what happened after that, and what I do now. So it's got it all in there. But again, it's not sanitized. I've written as I talk, which has been lovely because I'm getting feedback and people are like, I can actually hear your voice. And I'm like, well, I think that's lovely. Maybe it's not.
I love that. I think that's going to be a really big key differentiator as we go into more AI everywhere.
Yes.
Is the more human we can get, that's actually going to be an advantage.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask something, and fucking mom brain. The personal. You know, you and I have both done this really crazy thing, and I know so many other moms who've done this, that they went through this massive identity shift when they became a mom, and something changed, and suddenly they wanted to take what they've learned and help others with it. Yeah. And so our now professional work is deeply rooted in personal experience. And so that very much blurs that line of what is professional versus personal when it is the same thing for us. So I'm all for swear away, get real, get raw, get vulnerable, because that is professional for us.
That's real life, isn't it? Like that is, and it's funny because you just said identity, and like the post I put on social media today, I was talking about identity. Mm-hmm. And like when you become a mum or a dad, it's almost like an opportunity to do what you want to do and live how you want to live and really honour who you want to be at a particular time, because it does shift.
Yeah.
And a lot of us get stuck in trying to play a part of who we were before, you know, and what we identified with beforehand. And I am a massive, you know, if anyone who follows, they'll know that I have a big issue with the bounce back theory.
Oh, yes.
I'm like, fuck
I could scream about that all day. There is no bouncing back. Motherhood is an evolution. Parenthood is an evolution.
Yes, exactly.
And it's constant. As your kid goes through different stages, you have to evolve with them.
Yeah. And it's not linear either, is it? It's not. And I think that's the thing. When we start to accept that it's not always going to be super wholesome and you'll wear matching clothes, right? And it's not always going to be there's shit everywhere and no one knows what day it is. It's not linear. It's not. It's a big, brilliant combination of all those things. And yes, it continues. I sat last week having coffee with some of the parents from the school. And one of the mums, she's at the other end where her daughter has just gone to Singapore to study. So she's now like, my baby's not here anymore. Like, these are all massive transitions in your life as well. You know, it's not only that initial postpartum phase, it's actually a continuation. And that's why I'm always clear about that. And I don't like, you don't need to diagnose it all. You don't need it all in a box. It's about supporting parents. From pregnancy, I actually prefer speaking to people when they're expecting.
That was going to be my next question. Is when
maybe before they adopt or foster, like, you know.
So when is the best time to reach out to you, find your resources? Is it when the women or parents are pregnant, or is it when they're in the middle of postpartum depression or postpartum anxiety?
Yeah, I prefer before, because then you're almost planting those seeds. Like the information and the framework that I go from is stuff that I wish I had known, because and it's not a solution, right? I never do a sales pitch like it's a solution, because I think that's bullshit as well. I've got a lot to say about a lot of things, Alexa. I don't know how long we've got.
I mean, girl, we could talk.
Yeah, right. But I think if I had known those things and I had got some of that framework in place, it would have been like the scaffolding that just would have helped me navigate it differently. But as it was, I was victim to the circumstance and had no fucking idea how to help myself, because I didn't know what it was that was actually impacting me. So had I learned these things, and all of it is personalised, it's all just guidance into a space where you as a family determine what works for you, because I'm not going to come on and go, well, these are the things that I do, you should do that too, because everyone's dynamic is different, right? We're all different beings. But I still use the same framework in my day-to-day life now to help me manage my own mental health, or just when stuff's going on, be lifing, and it's made me feel so much better.
Yeah, I love this. It's so important. And I mean, when I had both my babies, my mom, she had really bad postpartum depression. And so I was waiting and ready for it. I was like, I know what the signs are. I was talking to my husband. I was like, here's what you should look for in case I can't say it. And you're starting to see these signs or symptoms. And it never hit, but instead I got postpartum anxiety. I had never heard of it. And I had postpartum rage with my second. And totally unprepared, had no idea what it was. I would just go 0 to 100, like all day. It was really, really bad. And I had never even heard of it. I mean, these are absolutely tools that we should get to more pregnant women and parents, so that the spouse and partner can also help catch these signs and what to look for as well. Because it's, when you're postpartum, it's like, you're just on survival mode. You're barely aware of what you're doing or saying.
And there's a big difference, right, between these challenges and illness, such as postpartum psychosis. People, I believe, are not sharing enough about that. And this isn't about scaremongering. This is not about saying everyone's going to feel like shit. You might be cool, and that's brilliant. But you're always going to go through some period of navigation. You're changing your entire life, so none of those resources are wasted. They're always going to be useful. But I think it's important to highlight that it's not saying that everyone's going to feel like shit. But if you can at least have that awareness and already have tapped into it, then it does make it a bit easier, doesn't it? I was the opposite. So you were waiting for postpartum to kick your arse. I was the opposite. I actually believed that any previous episodes of feeling depressed or anxious, because I did have other times and still do as an adult, I thought that what was missing was being a mum, because I had wanted to be a mum for so long.
Yeah.
So I got pregnant and I was 40 by the time I got pregnant. And I just was like, we're done. This is it. That's like my missing piece of my jigsaw. So I was the opposite from you. I wasn't anticipating it, because I thought that was my answer. So when it did come and kick my arse, I was like, well, where did that come from? And it is a different feeling, isn't it? Because you're feeling what you're feeling, and then you've got these little people to look after. And then the guilt that comes in for feeling what you're feeling, and your behaviours and your actions, all just compound. They all just come on top of each other if no one can pull you out of that spiral. And often it's hard for people to pull you out of that spiral, right?
It is hard. So on that note, I want to get into some more tactical tips and strategies for moms. And so I know in this episode, we're going to be talking about what she knows, your biggest lesson that you can share. So what is the biggest lesson you can share, or the biggest takeaway, or the biggest piece of advice, and how moms can apply it?
I every time we'll say, figure out more about yourself. Like, before you learn about baby, learn about you. Because how you show up that's how you're going to parent. So you've got to understand yourself first. So that's, the framework I use is about the 6 human needs, which guided me into better understanding myself and why I'm reactive to some things, or why some things piss me off, or what makes me happy. Why does that make me happy? So as an example, my driving human need, we've all got the 6, but we each have one that is more prevalent because we're all different. So my driving human need is certainty. And that completely stands to reason because I'm very systematic, I'm very routine orientated, I'm very organised. Some might say a bit of a control freak.
I can already see how this doesn't mesh well with parenting and motherhood.
Right? You bring a little person in and your sleep's out the window, and all of your routines and your structure, you suddenly have to become more flexible. And for someone where I'm driven by that certainty, it's very much a need in me, then you go into that conflict with yourself. But I didn't understand that. I just, as I said earlier, I was just victim to all these feelings. The other, do you know what I'm talking about, the 6 human needs? I learned this from Tony Robbins.
Not Tony Robbins. I was originally thinking you were talking about like Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Okay, so that's the hierarchy, which is like your safety and your food and water. Yeah. No, this is certainty, variety, love and connection, significance, growth, and contribution. Okay. So when we're mentally struggling with things, you can often feed it into one of these 6 human needs that's perhaps not being met at a particular time. So for a lot of new parents, significance can massively be impacted because perhaps you've been working, so you've got colleagues, you're receiving a paycheck, you're contributing to a project or something in the world. And for me, I became a stay-at-home mum. I had ran a business in Indonesia for 7 years. I had a hair and beauty salon. I was financially independent, all those things. And then we relocated and I became financially dependent on my husband. Then I was at home with Archie. So my significance wasn't being met because babies don't say, thank you so much, Mum, you did a brilliant job there at wiping my butt.
I wish they would, though. I wish they would.
When is somebody going to get that on the go? Get the AI in there.
'Cause I love a good moment of appreciation. And that would just be
and that is.
On
it's their significance. My growth was also hugely impacted because I was no longer studying, working. I wasn't reading the things that I would normally read. I wasn't even listening to the music I would listen to, or podcasts, because I was so immersed in my job here is to look after Archie, which you do, and we do that, and it's emotionally and mentally challenging, but it's not academically challenging to look after your child. So when I started studying, when I decided that I was going to do this and started studying, it was like a light went off and I was like, oh my God, actually, I've not been feeding it. And I know that changes at particular times. I'm not telling everyone to go and sign up to Open University right now if you're a new mum and you're right in the trenches. But at least introduce things like listening to podcasts that are interesting, like this one. Playing the music you like. I've got a playlist on my Instagram and whatever to just help people tap in again, because I think we tap out of who we are and the things that make us feel good because we believe that we've got to put our energy into our children. But when we understand that we really do have to do that oxygen mask first thing and look after ourselves, you will show up as the parent you want to be, but we just don't see it because nobody bloody tells you, right?
Yeah, it is really hard. I think you scroll through social media and Instagram and it's a highlight reel of the best moments of very unrealistic times. And it's very hard going into motherhood with that expectation, and it's not like that.
And I think there's the opposite to be true as well. Like, I get real arsey going on social media and seeing people, businesses, You know, I'm a business. At the end of the day, I have a business.
Yeah.
But seeing people crying into the camera and writing copy and saying that it's authentic, and I'm like, the fuck it is.
I never want in a moment have that thought of, wait, let me whip out my phone and record myself cry. It's the fakest thing, but it's
manipulative marketing, and it does my head in, because if you're a mom in a vulnerable space and you're not coming in with business eyes, we're looking at it from these eyes, right? But for a mum who's not in that space looking at that, they believe it to be true, they believe it to be authentic. And I'm not saying that it's not, and I'm not saying not to be emotional. I cry for fun, I cry every day, but if I'm communicating with other adults, I'm going to assume that you understand what that is. I don't need to give you a full show, because it is performative. You know, it's not often something that has just... When you see people get emotional through a conversation, I think that's different. It's a very natural progress, and it's perhaps caught on camera. There's a huge difference between whether it's that or whether it's staged. So yes, I think that comparison for parents when they go on and they see the highlight reels and all the making spaghetti from scratch or whatever it is they're doing, you know, on the other side. And so many things have been demonised, right? There's always conflicting information out there, and there will be studies to back each part of it up, you know, whether we're talking about your decision or choices to breastfeed or bottle feed, whether you co-sleep or independently, whatever the choices you are making as a parent, if you're basing them on the influence of external resources, then it might never connect, because you really need to figure out what your take is on that. What is your position as a family? You know, and when you figure that out, then you can do it with confidence. You can make those decisions with confidence.
This is, I think, it's really impactful and it's really powerful. But when you're postpartum and you're in that newborn sleep exhaustion, you're not doing any of this shit. It is complete survival mode. So the real tip, I think, is to do this when you're pregnant.
Yeah.
Do this at some point in the pregnancy. Yeah. Start this, and it set yourself up for a better, successful, easier postpartum experience. Because if you're waiting until after, when you're in the shit, it's not going to happen.
No, and it's hard. Yeah. And I think it's about managing expectations, isn't it? Like, when we talk about, you know, I was talking about this yesterday, even the delivery, when you're expecting and you've got what you want to happen when you're birthing, when you're delivering. And sometimes it doesn't go that way. Sometimes things change. But that is your introduction to being a parent, because your expectations at times, they're not met. You know, and if your expectations are here and reality's here, that bit in the middle is disappointing. And so it's not, I'm not saying lower your expectations, don't stand for what you want. I don't mean that. But what I mean is be aware of them. Be aware that things can shift, you know, very quickly when it comes to these little people, because it is meeting their needs at that time, right? And remembering that it does change as they get older. I see babies now, and I'm like, in my mind at times, Archie's still a baby, you know, and he's 8, and he like calls you bro and dude, and he says 6, 7 all the time. Everyone's 6, 7. I'm like,
I don't know that one. I don't know what that is. I've seen it on Instagram, and I'm like, what is 6, 7?
It's not even a thing. It doesn't even mean anything. It doesn't have darker meaning. It doesn't mean anything. It's 2 numbers. That's it. I'm like, and that shit goes viral. You and I are over here, you know, actually helping humanity, doing a really good thing on, you know, in our time on this planet. And all we had to do was go 6, 7, and we'd be fucking everywhere.
Yeah. I think that's a funny entrepreneurial moment. The amount of times where I sometimes will want to quit and be like, I could just like show my feet and make a shit ton of money.
Mate, I would be the golfer's dream, because I've got wee funny toes. These toes here are like turned under, and I'm like, golfers would pay me a fortune for photos of my feet.
Yeah, if I just went and took the time to go get a pedicure.
Oh yeah, I don't do that now either.
I mean, everyone else would be done for.
Right? But it's true, it's, you know, and that's why we do what we do.
Yeah.
Because it matters, because it's important, and that's what drives,
So what's an immediate first step someone listening to this episode can take? Let's say they are pregnant or expecting. What's an immediate thing they can do?
For me, it's to take an afternoon and go, right, how can I do my personal development? Obviously I'm going to say my course, because stepping into parenthood, I've just upgraded it, and I still think it's brilliant, and it's very simple, and it's self-paced. So I would obviously say that. But if that's not your jam, you're not drawn to me or how I'm presenting the information, do some personal development. Get an external person. I always think this is important too, because even when we've got a brilliant support system of family and friends, there's a veil that's there when we talk to them. We're not always as transparent for lots of reasons, Like I said earlier, perhaps we don't want their judgment or their guidance, or we know that they're going to tell us what to do. But when you tap in, whether it's a coach, a therapist, a counsellor, whatever your jam is, someone who's external, they have a professional capacity, they have perspective that is different, because they're not coming from a bias of what they know about you. Utilise that. We should all have someone external, and we should normalise it the way we normalise, I was going to say having nail technicians, but we've just said we've not been for pedicures. But that's a normal thing to do, right? Your nails, your hair, the doctor, the dentist. And we still sometimes have this aversion to talking to anyone about our mental well-being, and it needs to stop. And I feel like the faster the world moves, the more that we need to, as humans, have that connection and have that support. And yes, ChatGPT can answer some questions. That's not a person. It's a different energy. It's a different connection. So I would say, I do a free consultation. I've met so many people who have came on that call and they've not tapped into anything else, because they just felt better giving it oxygen, what their concerns were, how they were feeling, understanding that they were not alone and that they weren't judged. So either look at the course or go and tap into someone out with,
Thank you, Nikki. And what's your website, or where can...
So everything is on the scottishsoulsister.com.
Okay, the scottishsoulsister.com. And I will link that in the description. So anyone listening to this, you can find that in the description.
Thank you. And then you get your Instagram or Facebook, whatever your preferred social media platform is. I try and do all of them. I don't know that I do them well, but I'm there.
I got rid of Facebook a while ago, and then I ended up creating a new one just because there's like so many groups, Facebook groups and mom groups.
Yeah, I still like Facebook.
There isn't a good other place for a lot of those group connections.
No, you're right. Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. And I do LinkedIn the same as I do Instagram. I don't have different performances. It's all, it's the same kind of content. But yeah, I still like Facebook, and I was never sure if that was like an age thing, but I feel like there's more engagement. I feel like people still talk there, whereas Instagram is like this high energy, scroll, everyone's fighting for your attention, and it's getting even more so, right? People are trying to find ways, and I have not even really tried to figure out the algorithm, if I'm honest. Because
it changes all the time, and that's a huge pet peeve of mine too. Is like the constant trying to keep up with it is intense.
And that was one of the reasons that I was happy to get my book out there, because that is a better introduction to who I am, what I do, and why I do it, than I think a social media platform really would ever present. I felt like this was the perfect way to get it out there.
And your book is called Homebird, you said.
Homebird,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
And it's on the website as well. Everything's there, so it's easy to find.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Nikki, for joining us on the show. It's been an absolute blast.
Thank you so much for having me. I love just connecting with other people who are also doing good stuff in this world.
Yeah, thank you. And if you are listening to this episode and this episode hits home for you, please share it with another mom who may be in the trenches or an expecting mom. And check out the resources to find Nikki in the description below. And I'll put some of my resources below as well. But other than that, thank you so much for being here. And we will see everyone on the next episode. Thank you.